Excuse me. I haven't talked, evidently, I haven't talked very much yet this morning. Still got froggy throat. Anyway, good morning. Are we on? Well, kind of hard to say. I believe we are. There we go. All right, hello, my name's Dan. This is Daily Art Adventure number 820. Woohoo! Final glaze and touch-ups on Kauai, a famous, I forget the name of it, a famous valley in the island of Kauai. This is a commission. This is a honeymoon photograph for one of my brides who got married in, I forget, either Pennsylvania or New York. Forgive me. Kelsey, if you're catching this. I did a painting of her reception and now doing a painting for her from her photograph. Whoa. And I just put a little bit of phthalo and a little bit of ultramarine. Yeah, I think I'm going to go even a little bit darker up here in the corner. So adding some dioxazine violet. And the glaze that I'm using today is not my normal liquid, because I have some slow drying stuff in here, medium slow dry. So I'm using medium slow dry, medium, Neil McGill. I hope to knock this, what I'm doing today, I hope to knock it out pretty quickly. I finished this painting yesterday and was able to look at it periodically throughout the rest of the day and again this morning. And indeed, there are just a few things that I want to tweak on it. One of which is what I'm doing right now, which is just glazing for a little more intense color, but also darkening, right? If you're glazing, you're darkening, right? So I just add a little bit of phthalo blue and viridian green. Again, very faint glaze. I was feeling that my shadow areas. Let me show you the photograph from which I was working. Here's my client's photograph, and here's the color sketch I did from that photograph. So you see the difference. And there's the painting. So my shadows were a little bit colorless. So I've just bumped them up with a little bit of blue and green, and indeed they look much better already. I think I'll clean those brushes up later. Just want to do a little bit, so a little bit more glazing. Whoop, 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 whoop. Don't dip your brush in liquid. Normally I remove the liquid from my palette, but I thought, oh, surely I can remember not to dip my brush. And there I did it anyway. All right. Now glazing a little bit. Let's look at that. Nah, it's too yellow. That was a little bit of Indian yellow. That's too orange. But bear with me. Don't panic. Don't panic yet. That'd be a good color for, yeah, for down here in the corners. I went ahead before I started broadcasting today, and I did a thin, colorless glaze of Neil McGilp over the entire canvas so that it would speed up this glazing process. So the canvas, the whole canvas is already wet with a very thin layer of Neil McGilp on it. Does that make sense? So when I come back then with a little bit of pigment, a little bit goes a long way. Now I've got red oxide, oxide red, or transparent red oxide. Any of those terms will do. And I like that fine. Did I overpronounce that F well enough for you? But there's just way too much of it. So now we rub off whatever. There we go. That's just about perfect right there. Okay, so there are, I think, 3 things that I felt the need to do on this painting as I looked at it over the last 24 hours or so. One is this cloud up here. I felt like isn't reading like sun through. It just looks like one big white light blob. So I want to fix that. I'm going to add gray, this gray, up into this, and then come back with some highlights. That's one thing. Then down here on the sun-drenched cliff, some of the dark areas are too dark, so I'm going to lighten those. Then I'm going to put just a little bit of glow here where I really want it to look like the sun's really hitting it, and then a little bit more intensity on the white caps, the breakers down there. So where to start? I think I'm going to start with lightening. Again, did I overpronounce that clearly enough for you? Let me tell you, I don't know if you guys understand this, but you probably notice I've got a monitor in my ear. And yes, I do know that it's pointing the wrong direction. I do know that it's supposed to go like this. Just in case you wonder, don't be embarrassed for me. But it just so happens that, and I always try to put it on the side of my head that you guys are not seeing quite so much. And it just so happens that the shape of my ear, it stays better this way. So anyway, so I was going to let you a little bit on the inside of the production details here. I hear well, let's say go. Okay, so about a 1.5 seconds delay, I hear my voice repeating everything I say. And as my buddy Doug said yesterday, when he was up here, said, "Doesn't that drive you crazy?" And all I will say is, like, I think I've trained myself. Evidently, I've trained myself to hear my voice about 1.5 seconds after I say it. Why am I doing that? Because that is my first line of defense. If my system here, which incorporates about 6 different pieces of technology, if it suddenly stops broadcasting, or if the sound suddenly goes bad, I know roughly in a 1.5 seconds. Now that still doesn't keep me from screwing up any any number of other ways. But anyway, that helps. And I also get a delay because I have my iPad down here. This is all just stuff that you guys don't need to know, but you might get a kick out of knowing it. I also hear my voice about 20 seconds after, or 30 seconds after I say it. So my studio is full of Dan Nelson talking. I hear myself a second later, and I hear myself 30 seconds later. And that's why sometimes I laugh at myself when I ridiculously overpronounce a word, because a few seconds later I hear it and I go, I sure overdid that, didn't I? There are times when I'm at great pains to be understandable. All right, so what I've just lightened some of the dark bits in here because it wasn't reading smooth enough. All right, I think I'm trying to decide, do I want to do the waves first? Yeah, no, I don't. I want to do the glow first. So here's a little bit of an unusual. I'm going to do what could certainly be called the fuzz layer. Nearly at the last step of my painting. Because I want just a little more glow on this cliff face. Again, if you're a early journey painter and you haven't learned this lesson yet, please learn it. I'm continually seeing beginners, students, early journey painters, whatever you want. I usually call them early journey painters, who didn't get this memo. So I'm giving it to you again. If you want an object in your painting to look as though it's really bright, whether that's a street light, a candle, the sun hitting anything, if you want it to look like, bam, really sun hitting something strongly, like, I hope it's obvious. I mean, I've actually painted sun rays. First time I remember ever doing an oil painting with sun rays. So I hope it's clear, obvious. Should be that I really want it. I really want the play of light. I really want the sun to look like it's really just exploding off this. All right. So the solution then, or the practice. Forgive me while I use my finger here for a minute. The practice is then, the brighter the light, or the brighter the intensity, the glow, then the softer the edge. And what I see so often is students will do a razor sharp bright edge, which doesn't work, doesn't look bright. If you want it to look bright, you make it fuzzy. And if you had been paying attention to Thomas Kinkade instead of turning up your nose at him, sorry, I know you didn't turn up your nose at him, but many of your artsy friends did. So we've talked about that quite a bit here. We've talked about the Kinkade phenomenon. You don't have to love what he did with his skill. But if he's better than you, you better have paid attention, as I did. Said, wait a minute, he's got something to teach me here. I don't want to paint sentimental stuff like he did. It's not my job to judge him, though. Maybe he did exactly what he was put on the planet to do. Maybe. Not your... Anyway. But as I said, can I learn anything from Picasso? Well, did he have some skills I don't have? Yeah. Then I'm an idiot if I don't learn from him, right? And you just go right down the whole list. Okay, so can I learn anything from Willem de Kooning? Yeah, the answer is don't paint like Willem de Kooning. Now I'm just being a philosophical, artistic snob. Yeah, that whole world of socio-political commentary, ranting, preaching, propagandizing through art is, of course, a completely different world than what most of you and I are pursuing. If I am preaching any sermon, quote unquote, like Willem de Kooning was preaching sermons and Picasso was preaching sermons most of his life, if I'm preaching any sermon at all, it is that red is real, blue is real, white is real, texture is real, color is real, values are real, line is real, composition is real. And I've gotten way too deep, philosophically deep for so early in the week, so I'll just leave that right there. Now that I did that, I feel like my accented waves are going back a little bit too far, so too much of a good thing, you could say. There we go. All right, finally, up here in the upper left-hand corner of the painting, I want to change the feel of that cloud, the last cloud on the left, for some reason, and it's partly because of my sketch. This is the way it is in my sketch, and I didn't rethink it carefully enough while I was painting, so I hope to correct that mistake now. Still enjoying the brushes that Uncle 60 sent to me a couple weeks ago. And one of the things I'm enjoying, actually I have two of them in my hand, well, but they're different shapes. We've talked about this periodically. I paint with two hands most of the time. And when I'm painting with two hands, I very much like to have two different shape brushes, a different shape in each hand. And with the help of Uncle's gift, I have not only two different shape brushes, I have typically two different brands of brush, although not at the moment. Look, I haven't even got the price tag off that one yet. All right, somebody's saying hi down here. Hello, Michael. Hello, Uncle. Yes, the green can be a nightmare. You're exactly right. Oh, good. I look forward to watching that video about how the Winsor & Series 7s are made. Hello, Joker. How's Russia? Yeah, Kazakhstan. Oh my goodness. That's good. Good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us today. What fun. Kazakhstan. I would have said Russian too. We recognize the figures, I think. Us Americans, we typically recognize those Russian figures and then assume the person's from Russia, but of course, clearly not a safe assumption. I need, here we go, great big clean brush just to spread that around, blend that in. All right, now anytime you, my brushes just fell down. Anytime you add dark to your painting, as you know, that means your painting is not finished. Bear with me here for a minute. I need to get I've got a little brush stand over here that holds up my dirty brushes. So anytime you put dark paint on your canvas, your painting is not finished. You always finish with light. That's the rule. Every rule can be broken, but if you don't know the rule, then you don't know when you're breaking it. And as I said, if you don't know the rule, you're probably just screwing up. And would to God, I knew all the rules that everybody else knows. To make sense, I by no means set myself up as, you know, the great rule maker by any means. I know some rules. I almost don't care about the ones I know. So that is not technically true. But what I mean to say is I care about the ones I don't know. Those are the ones I'm desperate to get a clue about. When I look at some people's really good paintings, I go, dang, they know some rule I don't know. Is it possible that some people follow the rules intuitively without really being aware of what the rules are? And the answer is absolutely yes, yes, yes. In fact, I think quite a few people fit that description. Different ways of thinking, different giftings. All right, I'm very close to happy with that. Now it looks like an explosion of sun coming through that cloud. I think the last thing I'm going to do then is add just a little bit more of a highlight to some of these clouds up here. This might be the last thing I do. I've already signed this painting, so this is what and last night in my journal, I keep a record of pretty much everything that I do every day. You know what? I'm gonna play around with another very slight sun ray. We talked about this quite a bit yesterday or the day before. That was yesterday. There we go. Just what that needed. Wow. That was easy. Well, it was easy because it's very small, but just a little hint of a ray, sun ray up there. Now, what was I interrupted myself. What was I saying? I forget. If it was good, hopefully it'll come back to me. Oh, yeah, in my log, I have found it. I've been doing this about 10 or 12 years now, every day at bedtime. Every once in a while I forget and have to go back a day or so, but pretty much every day at bedtime I write down basically a log of a list of what I accomplished that day. If I went for a jog, you write that down. If I practiced my guitar, I write that down. If I finished a painting, I write that down. So last night, I claimed to finish a painting. I signed this painting and so on. But I pretty much always give myself permission. So tonight's log, for instance, will say, since last night I said I finished this painting, and tonight's log will say I did final touch-ups. If I had died before this morning, then this painting would be considered finished. Does that make sense? So if the painting's finished from everybody else's point of view, then I say it's finished. Of course, I have the freedom. Somebody suggested putting a sailboat in this painting. You know what? If I had done that in my sketch, I think I would do that because I think that's a great idea. Seagulls are not a bad idea either, even though seagulls are one of those things that's very easily turns into a cliche, right? So you got to watch out for that. Be careful about the eagle flying over your mountain kind of thing, cliche. You can do it, but just do it with caution and do it limited. Don't do it in every painting. Same thing with seagulls. But I did not include either seagulls or a sailboat. The sailboat in particular, I think, would have been possibly a good idea. But it would have drawn an awful lot of attention to itself, same as the seagull would have. So I'm not going to do it, didn't do it in the sketch, so I'm not going to do it here. All right, I think I'm finished. Let me bring you guys around to the front. You can look at it with me. I will take a picture of this. I will post it on my YouTube community page. Some questions here. Finger brush is free. Yeah, a little bit. It's you know, the funny title would be if Albert Bierstadt had gone to Hawaii. How about that? And actually, that's not true at all, because Albert Bierstadt didn't do any. Well, he didn't do as abstract as I've got here. It would have been a lot more tiny brush, tongue painting stuff. You know, details, realism, and of course, my client is almost certainly not expecting that from me. Let me point out to you, I mentioned this yesterday, but just for those of you who might be joining me here, I still think three of my, well, I like this guy, first of all. Let me see if this looks better if we turn this off. No, it looks worse. Let's see if, let's see if I turn these, well, turn this, is that better? I guess it's a little bit better. You're getting light from my windows off to my right over there. All right, so I think that's a pretty sky. That's a purty sky, is it not? And I'm pretty happy with my sun rays. You watched me do that yesterday. You can go back and watch me do it. But the parts of this painting that I'm particularly pleased with, and this is maybe for some of you early journey painters, look at the top of this cliff. Like stormy weather, completely soft, all soft all the way along here. Exactly the same thing over here. Really, really classic lost edge. A little bit of snippets of detail there to hint at the edge of the cliff, but everything is soft. And I think, anyway, and hopefully, you know, in a year, I'll be so much better than I am today. That would be good, wouldn't it? Then I'll go, man, what was I thinking? I'm so much better than that. Blah, 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 you know. But yep, that's as good as I can do today. I'm generally quite happy with the rendering of that hill. Let me see if I can find the photograph. Oh, that's not it. Bear with me just a second. Here it is. I want to show you again, just to so you can see there's the photograph. This is the kind of thing I'm trying to indicate, and I feel fairly happy that I did that. The lighting in this painting is completely made up. See, the photograph has none of that. It's just straight on. I did look up on Google Earth. We're looking northwest. I did make sure that sun coming in from this angle was a viable reality, and the answer is yes, because off to our left here is the west, so it's a sundown. So there you go. That's enough of a finished tour. I'll end this broadcast. Let me see what else people are saying. That's it. All right. Thank you for your company. I certainly hope to do another broadcast. No more painting today. Oh, I was going to say one bad thing about doing this. I'm anxious. I want money. I'm anxious to get this shipped. But because I had to use Neo McGilp, this won't be dry for at least 2 days. Then I need to varnish it, and it won't be dry for another day. And in both of those cases, it would be good to wait 3 days and 2 more. Anyway, so darn it. That means I can't ship this thing out for nearly a week, which is, that's irritating, because like I said, because I want money. But I'm done. I'm going to photograph this and email it to my client, and hopefully she or they will approve of it. It's not inconceivable. They could say, well, we were hoping it would be more blank. Now, they've seen sketches, so hopefully that won't happen. But anyway, all right, thanks for joining me. And like I said, I hope to be doing back today when I'm doing some preparatory sketches for a little mural job that I'm doing. All right, appreciate y'all's company. Bye-bye. Yeah, Uncle, I do varnish 2 days, maybe 3. Have we been over this? One of you guys told me this, that you can use the Gamblin varnish. Gamblin says you don't have to wait for it to cure. You can do it when it's dry to the touch. I don't think my Gamblin's all downstairs. Anyway, yeah, make note of that. I used to not varnish any paintings because I was told you had to wait 6 months. But Gamblin has come in. No doubt what their formula is kind of like a retouch varnish. But I like the new system much better, that I can varnish a painting after 2 or 3 days and then ship it a couple days after that. All right, thanks for watching. You all appreciate it. Bye-bye.